And we're live. Hi,
Yay.
everybody. Welcome to Why Am I Yelling Live? It is Monday, June 6th, and you are watching day 3 or episode 3 of my special Black Lives Matter listening tour. My first 2 from last week were amazing. I am enlisting people from all over the country, my friends from all over the country, and I'm getting their perspectives on where they are and what their experiences have been. And today we are taking it back home. This, my friends, is one of the loves of my life, Okima Diaz. She and I have known each other. We were just saying that it's quite impossible that we've known each other for as long as we have.
I know, right?
I was thinking about this the other day. I moved back to New York in 1997, and I walked into a little salon in 1998 in the West Village, and I was looking for a new place to call home for like manicures and pedicures and my hair and all that stuff. And Okima was the first person I met there, and she and I had we worked. I was her client for I don't even know how many years until you left
Like,
there or got
well,
promoted
16
there.
years. Yeah, right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have basically known each other since 1998. It's like 22 years. Like I've known you for almost as long as I've known Will. It's like stupid. We got married. We've been to each other's weddings. We've had babies. We have been in a lot of our lives together. I know her family. She knows mine. And you are somebody that for the 22 years that I've known you has been exactly who you are the entire time. And I appreciate that. And you are also somebody who is very aware. You're aware of yourself. You are aware of what is going on around you. And you have a way, and I don't know if it is, and since I've known you, you have been involved in Landmark Forum. You have always been working on yourself and quite honestly, humanity. And I feel like you are an excellent person to have this conversation with. You live in New York City. We both know the struggle that happens in New York City every day. And so I wanted to have you on because you're a special person to me, and I know you're going to have a great opinion on this. We're going to have a good discussion. So let's just dive in, right? We're going to talk about today your experience, if you've ever had any, with racism and your opinion on it. And I will also have some questions around like how to talk about somebody in a conversation, a person of color, a Black person, an African American. Like, what is the right thing to say if you are a white person like me?
So what is the right thing to say in regards to what? Like what's happening right now, or?
So I had a friend who posted on Facebook this morning. She lives in Arkansas. She has a lot of Black friends. And she said, she said something about, oh, my friend Susan, or whatever her name is Black. And they said, or is a person of color. That's what she said. Mm-hmm. And somebody corrected her and said, no, she's Black. And she was like, what?
Okay.
Like, what?
Okay.
So what's the right context to use, the right definition?
Look at you. You're so good. Like you're really good at this, by the way, because that's such a perfect launch question. But you see how I had to like dig in a little bit deeper just to see like what that was. Great. So, people have differing opinions on like what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what's current, what's outdated. But brilliant question, because there is a huge distinction between POC, people of color, person of color, and Black. Yes. Particularly around what's happening in this country and in the world right now. So I find that people tend to, it's kind of like what happened. I mean, I was born in 1975, right? So I was born at the height of like Black being the thing to call yourself if you were Black. And it was not a slur. Like people stopped saying Negro, they stopped saying colored, right. And Black was like the thing. And it's a diasporic term as well. So it's something that like my Puerto Rican grandmother refers to herself as, even though she was born and raised in Puerto Rico. And, in case you guys haven't figured out yet, Puerto Rico is part of America. I know you know that, Krista, but like, the fact that was even a thing is like, really? Anyway, I digress. So what's interesting, the term POC, it tends to be, it's like, okay, so when I came into the world, Black was the thing. Then we
Yes.
transitioned to African American. And
Yes.
that term for a lot of people became something that was more politically correct. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of what people like who are Black rather call themselves. It's a whole nother conversation. However, now we've gotten into POC, which is where like it's a space where Black people tend to get lumped into. And let me just tell you something right now. Anti-Blackness is real. And there's a lot of people of color that participate in anti-Blackness.
Yes.
So if you want to say Black, just say Black. It's okay. And I've had that conversation countless times in my life. Like,
okay, good.
Black is not a slur. Black is not a slur. It's all good. It's all about your context. Like if you're feeling uneasy about using the term Black, you might want to just look at that.
Okay. Because I've never felt uneasy saying Black or African American. It's only now that like the people of color thing that's only in the last, 5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that long, right? And we are almost the same age. I'm a little bit older than you are. So yeah, Black, African American, I feel like that's interchangeable. But somebody said this morning on my friend's Facebook post, she was like, other people are lumped into the POC thing, right? So you really should not be using it right now in this particular moment. Right? So I feel like that's a good clarification for a lot of people right now. Stop using people of color and say Black, say African American, say that. And
it's just about being clear.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. It's like, just be clear. Don't be safe, be clear. So if you're referring to people of color who aren't Black, just take the time to say like what their origin is, rather than lumping them in something that you're basically othering. There's nothing wrong with POC, people of color, person of color. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that people tend to get lazy and they tend to get safe when they use that term. So it's become overused, and Black people get thrown in that when.
Oh my God, did my stream just die? You just fell off. Okay, everybody. So Okema just fell off. And
am I still there?
Coming back.
I don't know how that happened.
I can't see you, so see if your camera's still on.
Well, I can hear you. I don't know what's going on with my...
I can hear you too.
No idea what's happening.
Anybody in the chat, can you see us? Or you know what? Okema, log out and log back in. I'll stay on.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so welcome to COVID. I'm blaming everything on COVID. The world has gone crazy, everybody. So I'm still here. Don't go anywhere. She's coming right back on. Oh, look, here she is. She's back.
I heard you, and then it's just like, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, look. Welcome.
And my internet is good, so I don't know what that was. But anyway,
yeah, mine is too. Okay.
So
thank you for that clarification. Thank you for that understanding, because I think it's going to help a lot of people who are watching this right now, who are going to watch the replay or whatever, and it's going to help them understand. Like I had a friend call me this morning and she was like, I can't wait to talk to you later, because I was in the middle of schooling Elias. She said, because I'm watching your shows and I'm talking to a lot of my friends, and you're really bringing clarity to this conversation, and you're really helping me and a lot of people, I hope.
Good.
Understand this. And so I think this is a really good clarifying way to start our conversation. So now, look at Jackson. Hi, Jackson. So here's what I want to know. I want to know your personal experience with racism. We live in New York City.
Wow.
I know. We live in New York City, but I think it's important for people to know, right? So I haven't had any of my New York City Black friends on yet. You're my first one. So, I talked to my friend Frank, who is the mayor of a very small town in South Carolina the other day, and he didn't have as much experience with racism as I think our New York City friends will have. Or
interesting.
Which I thought it blew me. I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, no, because I grew up in a town that was I was like 98% Black. He was like, there wasn't any, it just wasn't. And then he left, he traveled the world with the Army, and he has experienced it since he came back, because his town has changed, and now he's running the town as the mayor. But I found that to be very, very interesting. But
Well, let me jump on that real quick. So what's interesting about that is that people still believe that in New York we're so evolved and there are no issues with race. And if you just look at history, I mean, you don't even have to go that far back. In the 80s, there were lots of racial tensions here in New York. There's lots of stuff that happens here in New York and the Northeast. And that's just like a myth that people need to put to the side, and that's part of the getting with reality process, that like, you know, stuff does happen. While I'm not going to catalog my experiences with racism, I definitely want to say that born and raised in the Bronx, a mother who grew up in the Jim Crow South, segregated South in 1954, father born in Puerto Rico but lived in the South Bronx, you know, moved here when he was 2. I say that because what is interesting about my mother is that, given how she was raised and what she saw as a child growing up in the Jim Crow South, she made a determination that when she had her children, she was going to make sure that they were not afraid of white people. Because there's a conditioning that happens where it's like, you know, either white people are scary because they're going to chase you down with their truck, and I'm talking about like things that people experience, not like an absolute, or like, you know, they're like these powerful people that you should avoid and not make eye contact with. So having a mother and having a father who partnered in that, it was huge for my sister and I, because as a result, we grew up in an environment, not just like an environment like where we lived in the Bronx, which was pretty integrated at the time, but like in terms of building relationships, people need to wake up to the fact that when you have that friend at work that's Black and your relationship doesn't go beyond the water cooler, like that's not a relationship.
Right.
You're being forced to interact with this person that you probably maybe wouldn't have chosen to interact with outside of work. But when you break bread, when you look to build relationship, that's where a difference can be made, because you're actually getting to know somebody and building relationship. So what I got to see is my parents do that with people that were Italian and Jewish and Greek and you know, other Black people, like Caribbean, like all that stuff, right? And I was also actively raised to not feel any discomfort when I was in the face of racism. Whether it was covert, overt, active, quiet, sleeping, dormant, whatever it was, I was clear then as a child, and I continue to be clear now, that like, if you don't like me because I'm a Black woman, that's your issue.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that I can't be impacted by that. And I'm certainly not trying to say that to come across as insensitive to people who've dealt with some things, because I dealt with some stuff. You know, like I remember being in junior high school in the Bronx. I went to a Lutheran school. It was in a primarily Italian neighborhood. The students, strangely enough, we were primarily Black, and there was a deli that we used to go to all the time. And you know, for lunch, for breakfast, for lunch, for snacks after school, all that stuff, we patronized that deli. And there was one particular day, I remember I was in 8th grade. There was a day where all of a sudden we had to, when we walked into the store, we had to walk the perimeter of the store. We couldn't just go in and go up and down aisles like anybody else spending their money. So it just became very bizarre. And they had somebody standing on a milk crate watching over us. And it was just a bizarre thing. You're like, what the hell? Like, what is this? And one of the workers said under their breath, "Because you're Black." Now, when that happens, and this was in 1988. Again, right in the midst of all the stuff that was going on in New York City. You guys, if you don't know, you can Google like Central Park 5, all of this stuff. So so that was, once that got out, it spread through the school like wildfire. And immediately we were well aware of the fact that we had power and the money that we were spending there. So we chose to boycott the store. Now, we didn't boycott the store with picket signs and like yelling thing in front of the store. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Everybody has a lane. But what we did was, or what we did not do, I should say, was go in that store again to spend our money.
Right.
And by the second or third day, they felt it.
They felt it.
And they felt to the extent that they actually spoke to one of the teachers about it. Because they were like, we don't know what happened. You know, like the kids aren't coming in. So it's like, hit them in the pockets.
Right.
Can you imagine how empowering it is? Even like I was in 8th grade. I was 13 years old when I participated in that.
Right.
Okay. So again, even in the midst of all the madness that was going on in the city, I mean, Howard Beach, Bensonhurst, you know, like Central Park 5, all that stuff was going on at that time. And that was the climate that we were in. And we were able to empower ourselves through the dollar. And then I moved, I'll say one other thing really quick. Then I moved to Virginia Beach when I was 15, okay? Right. So moved into a suburb. And I, once I got, you know, into school that year, we had a homecoming dance. And there was a whole thing about like all the security and you had to show your ID. And there was all this nonsense about security. And I remember like attempting to go into the building and I didn't have my ID in my hand. And one of the assistant principals literally jumped up in my face, screaming and yelling, saying, "Where's your ID? Where's your ID?" Now, at this point, I'm 16, you know, right. And I knew how to stand up for myself.
Right.
And I stood up for myself in a way that she did not appreciate. Because I said to her, my direct response was, "Hold on a second, relax."
Right.
And she didn't like that. So she literally barred me from going in with her arm, said, "They can all go in, she cannot." And she literally threatened me with the police.
Stop it.
And there were police out there on horseback. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes. And I can't, like, I'll never forget, like, calling my mother in tears because I was pissed. Right. Calling my mother in tears because I was like, I already know. At that point, I had an uncle that was killed by the police when I was 8. Right. So I had police in my life that were good cops, fully understand that exists. And I also had the experience. None of this stuff is new for me because It was introduced to me at a very early age. Right. So I already knew that when this white woman, because I'm sure I wasn't clear about the fact that she was white, threatened me with the police and I was a student of this school, where do I go with that? So I called my mother and my mother yelled and screamed at me. She couldn't believe I left. And I was like, "No, you don't understand." She threatened me with the police. Like, there's no debate, there's no discussion.
I'm not putting my
and of course, you know, so this is like things like that. And of course, you know, there's been like microaggressions, they're the best. Because what people don't understand is that, like, you know, when people are like, "I'm not racist," right, you're not racist, but yet you walk up to me every time I'm in Trader Joe's asking me questions like you just assume I work there. And I have to tell people over and over again, "Sorry, I don't work here. I'm shopping just like you." Like, and people just don't have the wherewithal. Yes, they don't have the wherewithal to even realize what that is. Like, everyone that works at Trader Joe's wears a shirt to identify themselves. So is this enough of a uniform for you that you don't even have to take the time to look for a name tag, look for a shirt, look for an apron? I go to Trader Joe's all the time. There are many ways that they identify themselves as workers. So it's just like, you know, there's, I mean, we can have like a whole series on microaggressions. You know what I mean? So
it's funny that not funny, but it's coincidental that you bring up microaggressions, because the other day I'm in Connecticut right now. So for those of you who don't know me, don't know my relationship with Okima, we've known each other for a long time. I live in New York City most of the time, in Brooklyn. When COVID hit, we have a house outside of the city. We left. I'm not, you know, we 2-bedroom apartment, 4-bedroom house. We were like, adios. We're gonna. I can't live with 3 other humans full time in a small space. So we left. So now we're at there was a blip. Maybe I'm having internet problems. We're back. But we were having a conversation around the picnic table the other day with some friends of ours about microaggressions, because people don't know what they are. And I was sitting at the table with, you know, listen, I'm in Connecticut. It is primarily white, and I know this, but I'm at the table with my Korean friend, and we have our network of friends, our Jewish friends, like, we're all sitting around having this conversation, and somebody said something, and my Korean friend said, "That is a microaggression." And she's like, "I don't even know what that means." So we had to explain to the audience what it actually is. And it's not necessarily, you know, just for the Black community.
It's all over.
And it was like, and it was basically like all Asians are smart kind of thing. And it's like,
right. Okay.
No,
Perfect.
It's
perfect.
No.
Perfect. And that's the thing that I really want. Like, there's so many takeaways from this conversation that we're having. But in regards to microaggressions, white people need to understand that when they say I am well-spoken, that's not a compliment. When they say, if I had $1 for every time, like literally just $1, not 20, not 100. Right. If I had a single dollar for every time I heard that in my life, I would never have to work again, and I'd be good. Well-spoken. Oh, Okima, you're not really Black. You're Okima. I actually told someone, and you know what? It was someone at the salon. The salon is closed, but I'm not gonna do any promotion. It was someone at the salon, and you know this person. Someone at the salon where we met when we moved to Christopher Street. Okay.
Yeah.
Who was not originally from here, so I actually had some compassion and grace for his ass. But he said it. We were sitting in the reception area, and he said out loud, he was like, "Yeah, Okima isn't Black. She's Okima." And now I had heard nonsense like this, you know, ongoingly at this point. It wasn't actually that long ago, right?
Right.
And I just looked at him and I said, "You do realize that that's not a compliment, right?"
It's not.
And he said to me, "Really?" And it was like heartfelt. Like he didn't even realize the nonsense that was coming out of his mouth. And I said, "No, it's not. I'm Black. It's
and
okay.
I am Okima."
Yeah.
Right. Like
you could, you don't have to be so limited in your thinking of Black people. And he was like, I blew his mind when I said that.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, it's just interesting that you brought that up, because it's like microaggressions aren't designed to always be negative.
Right.
When you think that you're actually giving someone a compliment by saying nonsense like that, like, you know, learning opportunity, like it's an opportunity for you to learn.
Amen. That's why we're doing these things, right?
Yeah.
And I also love the point that you made. It's funny that, again, like we either read each other's minds or I don't even know. But this morning I was blow drying my hair, and I was thinking about, I can't remember a time when I didn't have other people with different ethnic backgrounds in my life.
Right.
From a young child to high school to college to all the things. And, you know, I was like, you know, my first apartment out of college, my 2 roommates, one was Latina and one was Black.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because we had great relationships. We worked together and we were like, hey, we're 3 young girls in our 20s. We should all get an apartment together. We have fun together. This would be super fun. We're all making money. And we got an apartment together. And it never, I don't think it crossed any one of our minds to say, this doesn't make sense. Because it made we loved each other. We are still in each other's lives. We are, you know, like, that never was even a thing for me. So all of this stuff that you say, it's like, I build relationships with the people that I have a connection with. I don't care what flavor you are, where you're from, who your parents were, I don't care. If I love you, I'm gonna love you.
Right. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna jump in real quick, because what I want to say to that is, you will probably gag at the amount of friends that you have, close friends, that it's a different reality for them.
Yes. No,
I think
right.
a lot of people, I'm gonna say this, and this is not a brag, this is just straight reality. Because of the relationships I have and how, you know, like I've been othered most of my life, okay? Because of my parents and how they raised me and the knowledge that I had about who I was beyond the you know, the school building, okay? It allowed me to be in spaces with people where it was always an opportunity for me to either be really pissed off and angry and snatch them up, or teach them something.
Right.
You know, and there are a lot of things that maybe they'll stand out to you a little bit more because, like, for instance, things that are being said to you or around you because they consider you safe. Now, maybe a lot of them don't because they know the relationships that you have with people, right? But for those who are listening, your friends who are listening, be mindful of when people are they're utilizing you as a safe space to say slick things that they would never say around me or in front of me or anyone who looks like me. You understand? Because even in 2020, that's what you just shared about, like your roommates.
Right.
That's not a reality for people.
Right. No, you're right. You're right.
Do you know, I have friendships with people and people stare at us like, well, what are they doing together? Here in New York, people just, they look like they can't believe that that I'm walking with the person that I'm walking with, or that they're walking with me. I don't know which one is the surprise or the struggle, but yeah, it's like people just, or maybe I'm different. That's another thing. I'm different. So that, when you have these friends that are othered, right? And your white friends see that you have relationships with them, then they automatically go into a category of, oh, they're good ones. That's a real conversation. They're exceptional. I've been told that too. Exceptional.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, you're exceptional because you have.
Because I don't fulfill the stereotypes that they envision.
Of a black person? Stop it.
As a black person, as a woman from the Bronx. Oh, I have the nerve to be black and Puerto Rican. Oh God, so it's like stereotype fest. It's people have ideas. I mean, people have ideas about like what it was like for me growing up in the Bronx. And I love telling them that I grew up in a house with an apple tree in the backyard. You know what I mean? So, like, the stereotypes just pile on. And it's like, until you're in a relationship, or until you read some books and you actually put knowledge into your brain, outside of the little bit that you know. Right. Think you know everything because the world's centered around you for you to believe that you know every damn thing. It's like, let's really say what it is. Right. And I think part of the reason why you had me come on is because I'm going to do that. Like, I'm not at this rate. I'm not interested in holding anybody's hand. I have developed the skill of speaking from love. Right. So that ability allows me to say a lot of things that I wouldn't be able to say if I was speaking from anger or resentment. You know what I mean? So I'm like, let's do this. But it can't just, at this point, if people don't walk away with anything else, I want them to realize that at this point, it's you got to level up. Like, all that, I don't want to be uncomfortable. Well, I don't want to touch that. You know how many clients I have, and I've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, how many clients I have, love dearly, and I know they love me, but how many clients I have that during holiday seasons, like whether it's, it doesn't matter, like, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Easter, like all those holidays that we spend with our families, right? Yeah. And then around those times, like there's the conversation of what are you going to do for the holidays? Like, are you going to leave town? You're gonna, and a lot of times, my clients I have tons of clients that live like in the Midwest, or rather they are from the Midwest or they're from the South, and they completely avoid like bringing up their family to them. It stirs so much inside of them, and they're like, oh, no, I'm just not going to deal with them. I'm not going there. And I'm like, why? Oh, because I don't want to deal with them. They're so ignorant. They're who supporters. I'm not even going to say his name. You know what I mean? Like, like this. And it's like, and what that really is code for is you don't want to be confronted with the ignorance and the hatred that comes from their mouths. Right. Because it's easier for you to just avoid going there altogether. And then when you do go there, then you become so frustrated, like the ones who do actually show up to their families then have to deal with the frustration of confronting that. And a lot of times that, white people, I'm gonna say it what it is. Like, I don't like vagueness. White people are not, and a lot of other people of color, getting back to that, are not willing to take on their family's anti-Blackness.
Agreed.
And I think that at this point, it's time to get really specific about what we're talking about here. Okay. So we could say, oh, they don't want to deal with the racism. Oh, they don't want to deal with the ignorance. Okay. What are we talking about specifically? Right. Okay. Because I know people that are more brown than me that are anti-Black.
Yes.
Because they come from a place that's colonized as hell, and that teaches them that people that look like me in this country aren't shit. And forgive my language, but I need to be raw. You know,
Yeah.
I need to be raw, and I need to say what it is, because we've gotten to a point in our country and in the world at large where we can't afford to not be straight about whatever there is to talk about.
Right.
You know, and for anyone that's hearing this and feeling a little uncomfortable, lean into that. That's my invitation. Lean into that discomfort. Whatever's coming out of my mouth or how I'm moving, I'm very passionate. However I'm moving is like striking you a certain way. Lean into that, because that's where the freedom is. You know, so when I go back to work, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna shut up. When I do go back to work and I'm confronted with people who don't want to deal with their family members because, you know, difference of opinion, that's what a lot of them say. It's like, you know what? Provide them the opportunity to lean into whatever that discomfort is so they can get free.
Yep. I think that that is a really important statement, because we have to learn the hard way that uncomfortability leads to brilliance, quite honestly. Like it allows you to have a more open mind, or a bigger experience, or an appreciation for differences and learning, right? So I think having these conversations, as uncomfortable as they possibly could get, I'm not uncomfortable having this conversation. I've known you a long time. I know what you stand for. I know what you believe, and I've heard you say these things in our lives together. But there are people who, you know, like there are people in my life who will not want to have this conversation with me. And as many times as I try to bring it up or I try to say something, it's like, we're just not going to agree, and it'll be, and I'll be walked away from it. And what I'm not going to do is go chase somebody down and say, but you have to, like, you know what, you're going to learn, and you're going to end up learning the hard way. I'm happy to have a conversation with you and walk you through it, or help understand the differences, or whatever it is. But I think you're right. It's easier to avoid sometimes. But again, uncomfortability leads to everybody being smarter and more aware. And I think through these conversations that we've been having, even just watching this over the last 2 weeks, I've seen a lot of people have their minds changed.
Yes, I was going to say that.
To, oh my gosh, I never knew, I'm now going to educate myself. Or, oh my gosh, I never knew this. Or thank you for like showing me this, or having this conversation. Or I watched your show the other day and I never knew that. That was really great and powerful. So yeah, tell me, like, talk about that.
Well, so that's really great. I actually spoke with a friend of mine who was sharing with me about like how she always gets, white woman, she always gets like tangled up on social media, like in these debates, and she's not she gets caught up by the trolls all the time. And I'm like, girl, you need to know, there are people who actually want to engage, and then there are trolls, and you have to be able to distinguish the difference. And don't waste your time on trolls, because they're there to just do what they're there to do. But she did tell me about, who was it? It was a friend of hers, or like someone that was in her life who was an all lives matter person.
I love those.
Yeah. And she was an all lives matter person, and then she also like had like this, you know, opinion about taking a knee being disrespectful to the flag, and you know,
it has nothing to do with the flag.
Yeah,
nothing.
Right. The flag and the veterans and all this nonsense. And my friend had been like hitting the wall with her over and over and over again. And it had gotten to a point where she was just like, you know, like I'm done with you. Like I can't have this conversation with you over and over again. And strangely enough, I don't know how many people had to die on television for her to wake up to it. And yes, I said that, because a lot of people that are waking up, they're having this awakening, because it's like, okay, good for you. And what did it take for you to have the awakening?
Yep.
I mean, it's great that it's not in vain, but like, how many more people do you need to see die?
Right.
Particularly at the hand of police or some vigilante white men that actually had a background in law enforcement. Let's not forget that. How many people need to die for you to wake up?
Right.
See, and I also want to point to, you know, the conversation, like white privilege, and how people, you know, white people are like, you know, you have white people that get in and understand it, and then you have white people that are like puzzled by it, and then you have white people that are just like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about because I was born poor. Like they think that white privilege means that you
not about money.
You grew up in a castle. No,
it means
that it means that you don't have to worry about the things that I have to worry about. You don't have to worry about people assuming that you work in Trader Joe's because of the color of your skin. Like I can't even believe that that's a reality for me. It just happened 3 days ago. You know what I mean? And it's like, because of the assumption, there's nothing wrong. You know, when it happened the last time, and I'm pointing to it because it seems so minor and you can minimize it all you want, but it's so telling of privilege. Like I can't be in here shopping for the same things. Like I'm in the same aisle as you.
Right.
So you can't fathom that I'm in here shopping in the same aisle as you. I'm not work here.
Right.
But that to the side, that's just like, again, microaggression. But the privilege, you know, the privilege of being able to tell you, well, I don't want to talk about that.
Right.
I don't want to get into politics. Well, there's you know, let's try to like reason, let's try to create reasons why this happens in the first place so we can wrap our heads around it. Stop it. Deal with what it is, because I don't want to see the next thing happen. I really don't. I'm tired. I'm tired. Like I'm like literally tired. I've had to work so hard. Thank God I have the spiritual tools that I have, because I've had to work so hard and so like diligently to keep my mind together and to keep my physical, like all of my well-beings, physical, emotional, mental, all of the well-beings. That's why I have my water. I always drink water. And anyway, everybody that knows me knows this, but it's like, for me, regardless of how I normally take care of myself on a day-to-day basis, it's like I have to be like elementary with it.
Amped it up. Yep. Agreed.
You know,
I feel the same way.
Yeah, because I'm gonna have the conversation I'm gonna have.
Yeah.
But yeah, and in doing that, I need to be mindful of, you know, what I have to do to take care of myself. And for you, when you're confronted with people who are like, well, I don't want to talk about that. You know what? That's a perfect opportunity for you to say, and you have the luxury and you have the privilege of not having this conversation while people hide.
You're right.
It does.
I'm keeping that.
You have to know how to like be able to give them that medicine. You know what I mean? Because it's like, nah, when someone shuts you down or attempts to shut you down, you can point right to that. That's it right there.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend that I had coffee with a couple of days ago. She's from Australia. I'm not bragging about all my white friends, guys, but I'm being very clear about like what I pointed to when I said relationship, right? And like how there's always an opportunity to get real about what there is to get real about. So we're talking, and she was just like, you know, and she gets it, she understands. And she was just like, you know, I don't understand like my friends that, you know, I'm talking to them and they're like, well, not all white people. And I said to her, I said, right. I said, you know what? And what you can say to the next person who says that to you is not all white people, but you right now.
Right.
Because you're centering yourself inside of a thing that you can actually be making a difference about.
Yep.
You want to center yourself in it, but you don't want to do the work to undo it.
Right.
What sense does that make?
None.
You know, we talk about a system of oppression. We talk about a system of oppression, and then you want to personalize it and make it about you. Not all white people. I'm good. I'm not this. I'm not that. Okay, so you're centering yourself in a conversation that involves something that's bigger than you, that you actually do participate in and benefit from. Deal with that. But that whole, not me, not white, not all, deal with it.
Yep.
Deal with it. Let me get my water. I've said a mouthful.
Drink your water. Now she's got a dry mouth.
You got to take care of yourself.
But you're right. And I think that a lot of people, and so before we got on here, Okima and I were just catching up for a minute, but I was saying to her that I think, especially right now in this moment that we're living in, more eyes are on this particular issue because we're all home and we're all watching it and we're all seeing it unfold in our eyes. We can't sweep it under the rug by going to work. We can't avoid it because we're taking the kids to school. We can't not look at it because we have to drop a child off at soccer practice or go to the sports game or do, like, there's no distraction right now. The other distraction is COVID. Like, they both suck, right? Yeah. So it really is. I said it the other day, and it's going to sound, and it might sound stupid, but I feel like this might be a blessing because so many people are so focused on making a change happen right now. And I think that if everybody that is saying that they're going to do the work, that they're going to get educated, that they're going to buy all these books that everybody's recommending buying, or they're going to read all these documentaries, or they're going to, I don't know, maybe talk to other black people in their lives, or solicit conversations like this and watch them on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever. I think that we really will see significant change in our lifetime. I think we will.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I have some friends on here that
I'm sure there's reservation, and rightfully so. I'm sure there's reservation in that, right? But rightfully so.
No, I'm with you. So my friends that rock with the spiritual world deep, there's a conversation and an understanding that in this time, and I get it, but I'm not like in it, so I can't like take full responsibility for what I'm about to say, but I totally get it and understand in terms of like explaining. So there are people who believe that with all of the things that are shifting right now, there's going to be a level of change that like one of my friends said, change that you would typically see over a 1,000-year period, we're going to see in 10 years, because that's how rapidly everything is going. And I know that might be a little woo-woo and all that, but you know, there are people who actually believe that the rate of change that's actually happening right now is huge and is very, very fast. And I mean, look at what has happened in the past 2 weeks, you know. Like I actually I don't know if I posted it, but there's actually like
there's the list. I posted the list.
Okay. So people have created the list of what's happened in the past 2 weeks for those who are like, well, what does marching do? What does protesting do? It gets people to listen.
It does a lot. It gets attention. It gets, you know, it really says a lot about commitment and dedication and wanting to create change. And I also think that we are mothers, and I'm not like that. I only want my children to have a world that they can be proud of. And I only want them to help cultivate that.
Yes.
Right? Like Wyatt goes to an environmental studies high school. I adore that school. He's only been there for, well, a year, but the last 3 months have been, you know, but they are so socially aware and so environmentally aware. And so like they have been on top of this and offering services and support and all the things and come together. And it is so, it just feels so good to know that our kids are going to grow up with, and your mom's on here. Hi. But like your mom will probably attest to this. Technology did not exist the way it exists when we were babies, right? Like you remember the phone that had the cord and we had the dial number, right?
And
before we had phones in 1990, whatever it was, right? Our kids don't know that. They are like, we have seen all of this stuff happen so quickly. So I agree with that statement. I completely agree with the fact that it could have taken 1,000 years to get to this place, but it's not going to take us 1,000 years to fix this. I don't think that's
right. And it is, you know, like people need to be mindful that this is, take care of yourselves, you know. And be mindful of not burning out, because this is a marathon. Like this is not going to go away come fall. You know what I mean? Like this is the amount of work that has to be put in to undo all the structures that are in place, structures and systems and, you know, microaggressions, like all the things that have to, like it's going to take time to undo. We have to allow the process for the undoing, you know, and building of something else. You know, so your friends who panic, let them know, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Like we're not going to reverse it. Listen, if Black people were going to reverse things and do to white people what has been done to us, it would have been happened. So just be grateful that we have what we have in our souls and our spirits to keep us thriving and keep us living, and not be focused on revenge. Because I think at this point it probably would have happened by now. So those people who are like, oh, like, and they don't even know that they're up in arms about, like, you know, things being turned on them. But then they watch Fox News and God knows I'm not a Fox News fan by any stretch of the imagination, but sometimes I feel like I need to peek here and there to
Oh, you
see.
do?
And oh yeah, I'm just curious, and it's poisonous. So it's like I have to be mindful of how much I take in. But you know, Trump was a result. Now I mentioned his name. Trump was a result of not only 8 years of Obama in presidency, but of news outlets creating this narrative, this scary, horrific narrative of their country, their white country being taken over by all these brown people coming from underneath, coming from the South. Like, and the languaging and like the propaganda. And it's like really, do you know that I know more, and I don't like saying illegal aliens, okay? But I know more people that were not here legally, that were white as snow and from Europe and Canada than I knew that were from Central America and Mexico and all the scary asshole countries that Trump talked about. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but I feel bad because it's like just a little pinch of feeling bad, not really that much, because it's like undo your ignorance. Undo your ignorance. This is an opportunity for you to get free. So you want to stay shackled or you want to like free yourself. But to that point, there's been a lot of programming that's been going on. Okay. And that's the reason why even today, people are still willing to turn their heads at what they don't want to see and like try to explain. Certain things just can't be explained away.
Right.
You know, my favorite is whenever these people are killed by the police, that there then becomes this narrative there's an attempt to create a narrative about criminality or like, you know, Eric Gardner, he was selling loose cigarettes. So that's the reason why you should get choked to death in the street in broad daylight. Okay. Right.
Like George Floyd, he allegedly had a fake $20 bill.
Right.
But you don't.
So he got killed for a fake $20 bill.
For a fake $20 bill, you wouldn't do that to anybody. Who does that?
But I want everyone to listen closely.
He used to have a background of drug abuse. And I don't give a shit what he used to have. Like, stop. He's a human being.
Right.
Stop.
But that's that system that has people. It gives people like the same system that empowered that cop to do what he did in broad daylight in front of an audience where people begged for him to stop. It's the same system that gives people the ability to reach for excuses and reasons and stories and narratives as to why it may have happened. And I can understand, my compassionate soul really understands how the human mind has to make sense of the most horrific things. And maybe that's what they're doing, but you can't live in that. Because one, it's an untruth. Two, you're sick. You're keeping yourself sick by believing things like that and telling yourself things like that. And people are dying. People are dying, okay? Still, even in the midst of all this, yes, beautiful things have happened. We've grown. But what we also got to see is that people are still being murdered. People are still being abused. People are still being jailed unlawfully. Then they twist the law around here in New York so that you know anyone can get hemmed up and not have a phone call. You know, so it's like, come on, they're struggling to keep the system in place, and it's not going to work. People are done. It's over.
Right.
It's over. It's over.
It's time for change.
It's over.
I could literally sit here and talk to you all day, but our time sadly is up. So I thank you for all of the wisdom that you just imparted on us, because there was a lot of wisdom that just happened in this conversation. And we might have to have another one, because I have stuff that we didn't even get to talk about. Because I want to know your opinion on a couple things. But aside from that,
anytime.
This was really good. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
And hello, family. Hello, family out there who is like your mother blowing up this chat. Like, I love her.
Oh, yes. Taking over, of course.
Blowing it. Okay, so thank you, Okima, for being here. Thank you guys for participating.
Yes, thank you guys.
I am going to download this. You can share it off of Facebook as you're watching this. Share it out so your people can see it and everybody else's people can see it and all the things. And then I'm going to download it and we're going to put it on Instagram and YouTube and all the places. And so
perfect.
Keep these conversations going, you guys. Keep them going. If you need clarity, go to Okima, because she makes everything clear as day. And I thank you for being here. Seriously, I love you so much. You don't go anywhere. It's probably even. Okay, I'm back here tomorrow with my friend Tiffany from Dallas, Texas. Like, we're going all over the country, everybody. And we're going to talk about her experiences, her thoughts. She is raising 5 children, so she's probably got a lot of information about motherhood and parenting, especially parenting her Black children who are now, you know, between, I think, 8 and 20 something. So she's got a wide range of that.
Wow.
So come back tomorrow at afternoon. I think it's at 2 o'clock. You stay right there, Ms. Okima Diaz. Everybody else, we'll see you back here tomorrow for episode number 4 of the listening tour. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.